Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rift once again for CBR versus IDF. I'm gonna be honest, Oshi. IDF feels like it's a name that feels like should have been gotten used in trash talk so much more because there's IDF, there's ID Frozen, there's ID Fraud, and with like how often we call people frauds in the CCS, it hasn't been used yet effectively, but I mean, again, I don't want to dunk on ID Frozen too hard right now. You know, they're already down in the dumps. It feels like throwing some salt in the wound, but right now it feels like CB Rush so far have been exposing them just a little bit.
I mean, ID Frozen is losing to Glacial. Okay, like do the word association thing here and figure that out for yourselves. Okay. Um. Anyways, the big thing to pay note to Rutledge. Look at the summoners on this man right now. He wants to be safe. He
Yeah.
wants none of it in this game whatsoever. And I respect him for it, because why not, right? Your whole deal is going to be stay back, do damage, be safe.
Right.
And you, I mean, sure, you've got a comp that's going to help you with that without question. The double support, the tank front line. However, you still have to make sure that you can get to the point where you are useful later on, right? And that's where we turn to the bot lane. Can they survive long enough? Can they sustain and outlive this devastating bot lane of Dallas on the MF long enough for Rutledge to come online and matter?
Yeah, and last game, Dallas and Circuit again, they had the push early laning phase. They had some pretty good lane priority. They're going to have so much more lane priority now. You can even see it. They're completely zoning Glacial and Love Me off of the wave. Seraphine, while she can have damage in the later game, is absolutely not an ADC or an APC at all for like your first 4 or 5 levels until those empowered Qs can really start clearing the waves. So something to look out for. Pip is going in on Elsa from Frozen again. Something to watch on this top lane is whether or not Pip wins this side of the matchup and whether or not Pip just gives Elsa from Frozen you know, some early kills and assists, and of course the build order is going to be important. But like, again, that could just be the difference, right? It might just be, hey, Hunter Wolfsteal was there to make the gank happen. Love Me's taking a lot of damage, but we're going to have to see, because Nubly, Hunter Wolfsteal, this Volibear, I wouldn't be surprised to see a gank soon, but they are just both going for full clears.
Yeah, going for full clears, they're each going to get their own respective crab as well, quite likely, which will be good for everyone, and they are at opposite ends of the map. Most importantly, though, is that Nubly is on a decent side to gank. No, he's not. He's on the wrong side for a top lane gank in this matchup, especially when you consider the fact that there is a ward in that Tri-Brush up there. So although he is going to show himself in the Tri-Brush, he's going to have to recall, and same thing in this bot lane. Hunter Wolfsteal gets spotted, but the gank goes.
The empowered route onto Dallas after the Dazzle stun. There was vision onto Hunter Wolfsteal. The empowered Q onto Dallas is a fair amount of damage, and it forces the flash. Hunter Wolfsteal with a successful gank already. Sokar gets rooted again by the empowered Key. Taking turret shots. Love Me, Glacial, they're going to be on wave clearing duty, but that is a flash cleanse and ignite blown for the heal and the exhaust on the bottom side for CB Rush.
Props where props are due. Sokar had a wonderful play right there, getting out with the Leona E onto Hunter Wolf Steel right there, saving his own flash ultimately. Very nice little cheeky kind of play. Also stunned up the Sejuani a little bit, and it seems that they still know he's there.
Yeah, they have warded themselves very, very defensively. They are well aware of where the Sejuani is. Hunter Wolf Steel now placing down some vision to make sure that that gets cleared out. Recognize that they are on a ward, and Pip farming up. Elsa from Frozen does have the level advantage for now, and we're starting to see that maybe, it might just be that Ornn is just a little too strong.
Yeah, the top lane buffs haven't come through yet. We talked about that they're going to be on their way in the next patch. And we said they're not needed. I don't know who they're going to benefit in terms of this matchup, but let's hope for the Croc's sake it's him. Otherwise, Gucci is going to be having a big sale very soon.
Right, and Pip still doing a good job of clearing the wave and keeping health bars relatively even, but is forced underneath. That's what happens when you play against the mage, tank, assassin, bruiser, everything support combo. But Hunter Wolfsteel is now up here again. Very aggressive jungler. Noobly hasn't really been able to make too much happen. Just went for the actually, I don't even think went for the recall fully. Actually, I believe my scoreboard's bugged. No, actually, I thought that was a scoreboard bug, but after the full clear, no, Noobly has not, in fact, bought anything.
Yep, just isn't. Just isn't Oh, there it is. There it all is. The back comes through now. We have Bomby Cinder coming through. Boots coming out.
Yeah. One of the whole shebang.
Just waited it out. And you know what? Sometimes you just have to do that, right? Yeah, especially he probably took a look at himself and took a look at where he was in the last time that he saw Hunter Wolf Steel CS. Oh, I'm still up a little bit. Look at the state of the game. I can wait 10 gold.
Yeah.
Right. So be it.
It was worth it. It wasn't like Noobly was on the bottom side of the map anyways for that bottom side gank. And notably Dallas, the cleanse is coming back up relatively soon, and Hunter Wolf Steel has arrived. He's going to try to take advantage of these summoners that are down. Going in now, the Dazzle comes through as well as the Glacial Augment. This MF is not going anywhere while Sokar is getting dealt with on the backside. Glacial in the 1v1 takes it down. Sokar on the run. This is a Leona. She flashes, but she's not over the wall. The Honey Fruit, maybe with the slow, will make it happen. She runs over to Noobly, trying to keep themselves safe, and now it is a 2v1. The stun comes through, but Tristana Rutledge jumps over the wall. Who needs safety when you're in a 3v1? Hunter Wolfsteel goes for the shield, but will finally fall. Noobly trying to get out of there is underneath the turret, and will get out with 1 kill, 2 for 1 in total, with the kill going on to Noobly.
Ultimately, that should have been a 3-for-1 or a 3-0. Rutledge, unfortunately, a hair late using the ultimate right there, trying to save his teammates, resulting in a kill getting traded back, as well as Noobly getting out alive, pushed out of the auto attack range and unable to finish it off. Altogether, though, very, very strong fight.
Yeah. It just goes to show that CB Rush are well coordinated, and Rutledge will always just go on the move as soon as a fight is called. Like, Watercat has always been second to these fights or just not shown up. So Rutledge willing to sacrifice some of that CS. Again, down CS in lane, but is having an impact on the game. And speaking of down CS for the time being, these top laners, they're just trading CS back and forth with whoever has the push. And I have not seen more of an island than this game so far.
Yeah, and you know what? I think in this instance, it's favoring Pip, right? We saw the Ornn have the advantage in the last game. We saw it very early on as well, but with that pickaxe pickup, able to actually match the Warden's Mail. The Warden's Mail was bought before anything significant came out for the Renekton in the last game. So this item equality in the top lane is really showing why the more aggressive and heavier sustain that comes with the Croc is so much stronger, ultimately, unless he gets himself in a bad situation of getting CC'd and then cracked. That's one of the major things Pip did incredibly well, was using the Ornn passive to pick up that bonus damage, that quick little stun that came with it. And it looks like Elsa from Frozen, from the few little scraps that we've seen, has been unable to land those himself.
Yeah, and Hunter Wolf Steel picked up the Rift Herald in exchange for the Drake. So, hey, priorities on the neutral objectives have shifted slightly, but this is going to give Pip just unrestricted access to free hit on this turret. I'm interested to see if Hunter Wolfsteal wants to drop the Herald up here. They might just be, they're going to drop it. This is going to be a tower going down in all 5 plates before the 10-minute mark, but Relic is the one to actually come up here and get the gold. We figured out who they are going to be funneling this game, and it's the man in the mid lane.
It actually goes all over if you watch it. The charge, most of the charge that went through went to Hunter Wolfsteal.
Yeah.
A little bit of the plates went over to Rutledge as well, and then the actual tower take went to Pip.
Interesting.
So very good spread. They actually don't want to pick one person to focus.
The knockup comes through from Elsa from Frozen, and right now it's going to be a 2v3 here in just a minute. Dominus is popped. We might just see a turnaround of what happened in the last game. Pip is on the run. We see the ult come through over the top. That's a 2-for-0 in the top side of the map, but Rutledge will be getting plates, but the kills coming through. That's what ID Frozen want.
Yeah, that was a very good pickup, a great rotation around, ultimately turning around the fight that happened prior. Rutledge picking up 2 plates there and half the mid lane tower health, but I mean, you're trading out a kill and an assist for 2 plates.
Right.
It's pretty even overall, but the experience that comes with it as well actually puts Watercat a level up over Rutledge right now, which is going to be some damage differential, as well as just overall priority. Take a look at this laser. That's 2 hits for half health right now. Yeah, that's what we were saying, though. The rocket jump just kind of gets him right out.
Yeah, an additional escape tool. Like, that's 3 full escape tools, and Watercat has 1 CC lockdown ability that you can just walk out of as well. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any solo kills for Watercat for the time being. But I think once Sokar makes their way up to the mid lane, we could see something happen. But again, down here on the bottom side of the map, Glacial has kept up completely in farm, is up in a kill. Currently only has the Lost Chapter and the Doran's Ring, as well as a Tear and a Dark Seal. Meanwhile, we got the Dirk, the Vamp, Scepter, Tear, and a Sword for Dallas. So ADCs relatively even. We're just going to have to see kind of who has the greater impact later in the game. Glacial has had the better of Dallas, you know, pretty much throughout every series that they played, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Again, top laners are just duking it out. Neither of them have ultimates, so we might see a kill, we might not, but they just walk it out for now.
I will say that this time around, the Blade of the Ruined King first buy is very good. The sustain that it gives, the percent health damage that it gives, especially if you hit that empowered W to get 3 strikes, is going to stack that percent-based auto attack damage because it counts towards all of that. And you're just significantly more equal, or at least were significantly more equal with your lane opponent. Now, however you take a look at it, well,
Encore comes through. Hunter Wolfsteal is here as well. Dallas flashes and cleanses again. 2 ultimates used, forcing both summoners, but those ultimate cooldowns are much, much shorter. Now, Hunter Wolfsteal, Love and Glacial, they have to be careful. Nubly and Sogurk are here, and they do have their ultimates, but for the time being, everybody will just disengage.
Gotta point out, bit of a problem with that CC stacking right there. Didn't layer it in order to get the full possible stack of stun time. Probably a huge part as to why he got out, but also, I mean, the amount of what's the word I'm looking for? Tenacity that comes when you pop the cleanse is also incredibly important. So Dallas very well played on that, popping the cleanse early, making sure that whatever CC did follow up after that was negligible. And now we've got Nubly in the bot lane alone for the time being.
Yeah, looking to make something happen. The Q comes in. Dallas with the strut gets here pretty quickly, but Nubly just has to flash away. That was extremely aggressive, but speaking of aggressive, CB Rush want the fight. Dallas gets chunked down to below half. The Solar Flare comes through. It forces the flash out of Glacial. Hex Flash now on Love Me, and you know, Nubly tries to turn it around a little bit, make the bottom lane a little bit more volatile.
Yeah, that is a huge ult to lose, though, with Drake spawning in 30 seconds. I mean, we're going to see all of the ultimates back up on the other side here, so not having that Solar Flare to drop is absolutely insane. I mean, I understand. If he lands it, that's an incredible play. It's a guaranteed pick off of Glacial, the squishy little Seraphine. But now Glacial Prison is up. Encore gonna be up in, I would say, about 15-20 seconds or so. The big thing, Cosmic Radiance still up, and teleports for top laners both still up, as well as the cleanse on Rutledge is still up. No sums on Watercat at all, so this is going to be very important. That exactly what I was going to say. Pip put a lot of pressure, and now we see a fight.
Oh, Dallas is caught out. I was going to say something about items, but it just doesn't matter. Who needs items when you can just win the game? Cosmic Radiance is used. Sokark is on the run. Nothing was used into it. Chaos Storm is popped afterwards. Noobly running in does still have the Stormbringer as well as the Chilling Smite. Might go for a steal, but no. CV Rush pushed them out of the pit, and Pip just walked down into the mid lane. No TP needed. CB Rush, they are now stacking their own set of Drakes.
Yeah, that was very well played in all regards. That's what I was talking about with the Glacial Prison being up, but not having the Solar Flare to match it at the time. It ends up in Dallas getting caught out on the wrong side of the wall from the rest of his team, which in turn meant Dragon gets taken. You watch it all yourselves, as best as, you know, the autopilot that is League of Legends allowed us to. But again, I pointed it out as it was happening. Dallas.
Oh, no.
Dallas.
I mean, to be fair, Dallas was in between two turrets.
Yeah, with 4 people on the map in front of him.
You know, hey, look, Love Me almost died to the turret, but that's just, it feels bad.
Oh, Dallas, you poor thing.
Dallas hasn't even gotten a chance to pop the ultimate yet. Like,
nope.
Dallas, he just died twice before he could turn around and use the R button. But
yeah,
you know, at least Noobly gets the Rift Herald for the time being.
Right place, right time, you know, turn it around that way. Pick something up. They're probably going to look to bust open this mid lane with it. Will be the ideal. Once again, we see Watercat with a 30 CS lead in the mid lane, and yet still down 600 gold.
Yeah.
It really comes down to the champions that are being played between these two mid laners and then where they are. We talked about it after the first game. Rutledge's game sense as a result of him being an IGL is phenomenal. His map awareness is through the roof. You kept pointing out, and it's very, very true, he is always there before Watercat, if Watercat even shows up. That is one of the major tide turners between these teams.
And we got a little bit of a scrap here in the mid lane, but it's just over the turret, nothing happens. I guess one of the things that I wanted to point out is Elsa from Frozen is building just like almost pure armor here, right? There's a little bit of magic resist on, not a little bit, there's a fair amount of magic resist on the Aegis shield, but like right now this is pure armor, and there's again a surprising amount of AP damage on this CB Rush squad. So again, Ornn is very, very tanky, but still doesn't have that complete item. It's something to watch out for. And CB Rush have just taken complete control of this red side quadrant. And oh no, so far it is Leona, rather tanky. Chaos Storm is dropped on top of the Gravity Well. We see the Cosmic Radiance is still up if they want to use it. Chaos Storm finally used. The death rate does quite a bit. Noobly has to run, and Sokark just falls.
Yep, another wonderful, wonderful pick right there. Again, layering the CC very well, getting the dash out of Hunter Wolf to get the initial knockup, layered over the top with the Targ stun, very well placed, good angles on it all. But this is the trade, and Rutledge, you're going to have to be careful down here right now, buddy, because Noobly has ult, which means that turret does not exist if he chooses it not to.
Right, and again, notably, Rutledge still has Flash, still has Cleanse, has Rocket Jump, and has avoided every bit of damage so far, but that is 2 charges, that's 2 turrets picked up. Unfortunately, there were not any objective bounties quite yet. Hunter Wolf steals back, is stopped, and this is going to be a 3rd charge. That was a very, very effective Rift Herald for Noobly and Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. If they can get out of this, look at the flank coming from the Sejuani as well as the teleport in by Pip. 2 teleports coming in.
That stop back might have been the downfall. Elsa from Frozen stopped Hunter Wolf Steel from going back. The flank comes through. The bullet time comes in. Tons of damage coming down from ID Frozen. And one finally falls. It's a jungler for a jungler. Cosmic Radiance is used again when no damage was present. That channel takes a long time. Dragon is going to be spawning just as, plenty of time still for the Dragon. But again, just a 1-for-1 trade for the time being.
But the big thing here, yes, it was a 1-for-1 trade, but look at everything that was burned for that 1-for-1 trade, right?
Right.
I mean, you take a look at the side of... Oh my God, they just won't stop.
It's the CCS rules, Oshi. They must fight. They have to. They're legally required.
They are legally required. You look over at CB Rush, right? They used 1 teleport and they used Dominance. And initially, right? That was the very start of it. And then, you know, we saw Glacial come in. We saw the Encore come out. And of course, as you said, we saw the Cosmic Radiance get used. But only 1 teleport was used.
Right.
We saw 2 teleports popped on the other side. So all the teleport cooldowns are essentially negated at this point in time, right? We saw the bullet time used. We saw the storm,
Stormbringer.
Thank you. Stormbringer used, we saw called. Forge God used, right? And all they managed to do was trade 1-for-1. Right? They used 3 ultimates to 2, one of which was not effective in the slightest.
Oh no, we see the Glacial Prison come out. Glacial follows up, and love me with the Glacial Augment, lays down one more. The triple Glacial power buff is it's just too much, and that's the ADC down. They absolutely, for ID Frozen, cannot fight this dragon.
I would absolutely love one of these teams to just play an all Glacial composition, you know? Play Ashe, Taric, Anivia, Sejuani, right? Like, give me all of them.
I want to see the full-on, look, what I want to see is the full-on Freljord comp versus the full-on Yordle comp, okay? I want Ornn, I mean, you can have Tryndamere or Ornn, I guess, but I want Ornn. I want Volibear, I want Anivia, I want Ashe, I want, what's a Freljord support? There's something, I can't remember right now, but anyways. Oh, yeah. I always think that that's like the mountain thing, but this is a tier 2 turret going down. Though double root comes in, they're on the run now. Elsa from Frozen looking for something. The knockup comes through, but that's not the target you want to knock up. And
look at Pip.
Pip he's in the river. But yeah,
Pip had an incredible flank right there. If they chose to keep going, I really wanted just a little overextension just for Pip to have the opportunity. He was hungry, and I respect his restraints to fall back.
Yeah, but notably, again, Pip, 48 CS lead now, has not, has died once. Also, hasn't, the top lane, neither player got an advantage from being in the top lane, but Pip has felt much more effective in those team fights and is building a tankier build than what Elsa from Frozen did in the last game.
Yeah, there is actually a massive gold differential in that top lane. 1,800 gold difference, 8,000 to 6,200 right now. Almost all of that stemming from the 40-plus CS lead for Pip.
And that 5-plate turret take.
Yeah, exactly, right? Which was, I mean, admittedly, it was split, right? But it doesn't necessarily matter just because of the rest of the differences that exist on this map. Who did we say was going to be important to watch for because of the Kraken Slayer? The Rutledge man himself, who is currently 5-0-1 on this Tristana, right?
Yeah.
Read those numbers again, 5-0-1. Still only a 1,500 gold lead for himself as well, but the damage differential from that lane has to be through the roof.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen from Rutledge in both these games so far. Got behind, quote unquote, in lane in CS to Watercat, but just is playing better in team fights. And to that point, CB Rush, they are just outright starting the Baron. They were clearing out the vision, getting the wards going, but they spot out the rest of ID Frozen, and they back off of it relatively quickly. So, Baron on spawn, that's they're definitely I'd say, I don't think they were doing it seriously, but that's definitely like a mind game thing. Like we could if we wanted to, we could, and they are still hovering here.
They have the percent-based damage to do it, right? Between the Seraphine and the Tristana with the builds that they have the tankiness of the Sejuani. They're not really going to lose too much. They have the sustain that comes out of the double support composition, as well as this. They have sent Watercat to fight Pip because they know Elsa from Frozen can't do it.
Oh, an Encore comes in onto Nubly, has to Stormbringer out. That's a massive engage tool that cannot be used. There is no follow-up from it. Actually, very, very good Solar Flare by Sokart. All before it got used. Again, these knockups are coming in. The follow-up just isn't there. Victor TP's in. It's a 5v5. The Croc has joined as well. The Root comes in onto Sokart. We are seeing a ton of cooldowns and ultimates used, and we are going to go into this team fight with the only ultimates active, Dallas, Pip, and Watercat. And now it is ID Frozen that have turned towards the Baron. It's going to be CB Rush that gets a chance to walk into this.
The Rutledge actually is also still sitting on the Buster shot here. Could be very important if they opt to go for a Baron steal. So take a look at that. Just keep your eyes on Elsa from Frozen, the main tank here, actually a little bit in the back line as everything goes on. Be aware of the flank. Everybody knows the Croc's in the back, and they all choose to back away from Baron as well.
I'm so interested to see if CB Rush say, all right, well, we'll try the Baron now. Nubly, Hunter Wolf Steal is going in. Glacier Prison is going to be up very, very soon. Sokart comes in on the back line, has to flash away. Elsa from Frozen is here. The Orange, again, still doesn't have a ton of engage. We might see the first player fall. It is Hunter Wolf Steel that goes down in this dance, this team fight. We see the Volt Time come through. It does a ton of damage. The Root comes in now, and Pip is on the back line. He flashes in, pops the Dominus. Dallas gets stunned, rooted up. The Encore comes in, but it hits nobody. Dallas is so low, and Rutledge with a rocket jump into an auto attack, into the resets, gets a double kill. There's the third. Why not? Watercat is low, takes down the Tristana, takes down the opposing mid laner. Elsa from Frozen trying to take down Glacial as well. It is currently 2v1 on the map. It is Pip and Love Me against Elsa from Frozen. CB Rush win the team fight.
CB Rush win the team fight, but they also win the respawn timer lottery. Hunter Wolf Steel comes up at 15 seconds till Dragon spawns. That means that they are going to be able to get out there with a couple wards in their inventory. You notice there's 2 pink wards on the jungler right now. Incredibly important to make sure you have those in your pocket in this setup. Heads straight to the Dragon Pit, gonna get that vision down. And ultimately, oh, a huge teleport coming out from Elsa from Frozen to this bot lane. They want to pick that tower up, or no? Okay, just looking to kind of shut down that vision game that I spent way too much time talking about for Hunter Wolf Steel to not use his wards.
Hey, you know, we might see it in a little bit, but we just saw a fight over the Baron Pit that resulted in no objectives getting taken because of those long cooldowns. But ID Frozen, they are here. They want this Drake. They want to avoid Soul Point, but everybody is ready to fight. There's no dominance on Pip. That's fairly big. So Kirk does get stunned, but the tenacity makes it very, very brief. That is Dragon that goes into the hands of ID Frozen. There's not a lot of follow-up. Again, they just can't follow these ultimates up. Newbly heals up. The Stormbringer over the top is trying to throw down the damage, but again, another double kill for Rutledge. 10-1-1 all of a sudden. Hunter Wolfsteel goes over onto Dallas. This Misfortune is going nowhere. The Summoners were already used. A triple kill now for Rutledge. That is a 3 kills for Dragon trade. If you're CB Rush, you take it every time. Watercat can only clear the wave to delay the base take.
He is sitting on Infinity Edge. He is sitting on Phantom Dancer. He is sitting on Kraken Slayer, and he is sitting on the throne of victory right now. Rutledge is having the game of a lifetime on this Tristana, absolutely free-firing on the front and back line of ID Frozen as he pleases, so long as he's able to keep his range up, and it's just going to keep getting bigger as he gets more and more levels. As Baron goes down, no possible chance of challenging that. Sure, you lost 1 Drake. It's 25 minutes and 26 now, right? You have a 6,000 gold lead and just picked up Baron. I mean, as long as you can keep this little Yordle with a big gun alive, all you have to do is walk down mid.
Look, like, people with oversized weapons is just one of my favorite tropes, and League does it so well. We got Tristana, we got Poppy, and they will both just completely obliterate you if you do not play against them properly. And like, speaking of playing against people properly, we just now see the first Grievous wounds get bought for ID Frozen, and it's a Bramble Vest on Elsa from Frozen.
Yeah, and take a look at, amusingly, take a look at the build path for Elsa and Nubly. Right. It's identical. They have built the same things all the way through, which, I mean, yeah, definitely. Look at the composition that you're going up against. You have to be able to survive Rutledge, which is why Rutledge has crit and has percent base damage. He doesn't care about your armor anymore. He's going to kill you.
There's going to be an LDR here soon, relatively. Also from Frozen trying to defend this wave. This tower is gone.
Yeah, the E did about a third of the tower's health on explosion, which is disgusting in its own right. The amount of CC that's going to come through as well. The slow burn out of the Seraphine is wonderful. Cosmic has also been picked up there for the Seraphine, so pay attention to that. Dallas almost getting caught off on the side. Pip having the time of his life.
Pip is 4 levels. Repeat, 4 levels up on Nubly. This is not a fight that the Big Bear wants to take. We'll get this wave pushed in, and waves, again, the waves aren't quite synced up. That mid lane is very, very far away, but top and bot lane will be here at approximately the same time. Notably, Pip did pop the Dominus there, so that's a fairly big team fight ultimate used, but at this point, again, it's a 9,500. I mean, it's basically, yeah, it's a 9,500 gold lead. They are feeling very, very good, and this base, it's just inevitable that it's going to fall. Dragon does spawn in 2 minutes. It should be enough time for the Baron to fall off, but CB Rush, again, they are just showing complete dominance in this matchup.
So I'm going to do something that I'm not not normally a big fan of, and I'm going to completely derail our conversation about this game and say, in real life, you have a crocodile and a bear. Who are you putting money on?
Depends on the bear, okay? If it's a brown bear or a polar bear, I'm putting the money on the brown bear or polar bear. If it's any other bear, except like maybe a sun bear, those things are super weird, I'm taking the croc every day, but it depends on the bear.
Sun bears super lazy? Like,
yeah, but like they're
around?
also massive, and like I think they're pound for pound the strongest bear.
Okay, I don't know.
Which, like, again, I think it's only because brown bears are just like so fat. They're still extremely strong, but like again, it depends on the bear. But again, this like Nubly is like again is a polar bear in theory, but this is the most like albino
this is a
black
bear-sized
like,
crocodile.
Like Pip is leveled up. Like this is not just like this is just not your regular crocodile. This is a crocodile from 2 million years ago. All right, like this dude is gigantic. Okay,
it's a megalocroc.
You want wide Whippo? This is a wide Pip. All right, is just like. This wide crocodile is wide. There we go. This is wide Pippo. Okay, is performing absolutely well. But again, we can't. Again, we got wide Pippo, but we got the smallest player on the map, the smallest unit on the map, technically in Rutledge, having a massive performance. So again, this is just CB Rush across the board performing really, really well and facilitating Rutledge really well. Like, that's what this whole team does, is facilitate the Tristana damage.
Yeah, an absolutely incredible draft overall here, without question. I mean, you mentioned how everybody's building armor, which just means Seraphine, as they build towards that mid-lane AP status that you talked about, is just going to melt, right? I mean, every single ability is just going to keep doing more and more damage because there's no defensive stats being built against her. And even more than that, when that Encore goes over and hits everybody, it's going to be devastating. Again, with the Cosmic Drive, with the burn, and it looks like, I mean, why do you have a Dark Seal right now? Why does it only have 4 stacks?
Yeah, you know,
either way.
Don't ask. But like again, that being said, the other thing I want to note is, you know, LDR was just built. This triggers against everybody except for Dallas. Hey, everybody except for Dallas gets shredded by this, and Elsa from Frozen. I mean, hey, you know, I will say Ornn in the side lane against Directed might actually have the 1v1, but this is one of those, it looks like a Baron push, but there's no purple involved. CB Rush, they have the siege potential here, and they are just waiting until the next Drake spawns in 4 minutes, where they're going to have Soul. Tristana with Infernal Soul is an absolute terror, besides being 11-1-1.
Yeah, so the full Thorn Mail does finally come through for Elsa from Frozen on that Thorn. 006, by the way, has not died yet, so respect where respect is due, has been playing very well, possibly too cautious though, right? You are the main tank. You're supposed to be the front line taking the damage, and if you go down, okay, as long as your backline survives and can essentially brawl out the rest of the fight. The big thing though is when you look at the counterpart on Pip here, you were saying you think maybe the Ornn has it. I disagree simply because of the build path that the Croc has. The percent base damage, some good sustain, but a lot of armor and magic resist coming through as well here. So that Croc is tanky and bursty and sustains all in one shot. It's not going to be easy to take that Croc down a second time, considering they've only done it once. And quite frankly, the only person who has died more than once on that side of the map is Hunter Wolfsteel, who is the main tank, who has been taking all of the damage.
Yeah, like that's your engage. If you're, if you engage and your team wins the fight, you feel great. But oh, that is very, very close. Somehow Rutledge is the one that takes it. Newly entered, has to flash out. Misfortune Ultimate only reveals where Dallas is positioned and has to cleanse out. That is still going to be Baron for CB Rush, but I do not know how Rutledge is the one that got that.
That must have been a crit. There's no other way that could have possibly been Rutledge's take, aside from just the perfect crit at the perfect time, I suppose, because Nubly's timing on that ultimate was incredible. Now, Nubly does have smite up. He could have had 2, right? I don't recall seeing a smite come down from either jungler, though.
Me neither.
So, very questionable. Chat is saying that he smited too early. Cool. Okay, so be it. I want to point out... So, Rutledge was sitting on a dagger, or a longsword. Sold it for a BF sword. But contrary to everything that I said at the very, very start of the game, He has 0 sustain. He
That is
has
true.
not bought a Vamp Sifter or any Lifesteal or Omnivamp whatsoever, which is what I said would be the key to the lane, and this is why you need to go to something like Metafy, because
Yeah, hey, you know,
commentators do a lot of talking, and we take our guesses, and we think we know, but the pros are there, and they're the ones who can teach you.
exactly, but Nubly might be getting taught some lessons here. Pip, Hunter, Wolfsteal, Glacial. It's the entire team except for Relish Chasing, which, hey, maybe you think you got the chance here. Maybe you think you have an opportunity, but once again, the bear
Look at
goes down.
Rutledge.
It's not even fair. Rutledge is just taking turrets on the top side. Glacial Prison is thrown, and it forces Dallas's flash, and now the stuns come through. The Solar Flare is used to buy time. The Cosmic Radiance comes down, and again, this entire time, Rutledge is just taking turrets. Pip has taken down Sokark and did not take a single tick of damage from Dallas, and Rutledge is just ending the game.
Rutledge does not care. He has not cared. He has not had to care in the slightest for about 60% of this game. He played the early game where he could have possibly lost lane flawlessly. His team played it correctly. We said, can they last long enough for him to get online? They did. Rampage comes through, 12-1-1. They're going to farm up a couple more stats here as well. Elsa from Frozen barely surviving. Should probably stay on that if he wants to keep it up, but it looks like
Nubly goes in, gets rooted down. Glacial gets the kill, and CB Rush. 34 minutes, it looked a little sketchy in the early game, but Rutledge said, no, I've got this one, and take CB Rush to 2-0.
this is what happens when you have a team comp executed flawlessly, right? They
Right.
built around Rutledge, not just built around Rutledge, but baited the other team into like the perfect composition to play the Tristana into. Absolutely incredible setup overall. Check out the damage. First off, big ups to Dallas. Actually did 23,000 damage, only 5,000 short of Rutledge. Massive.
Yep.
Kept his team in the game for an extremely long time, despite having 0 kills.
Right. But I will say, notably, like for Rutledge, you could feel the damage. You could see the damage in that last, the final stand that ID Frozen tried to take. There was, I don't even know who it was. They died so fast. Rutledge blew somebody up from like 70% HP. It was probably Glacial. I don't know who else would have been able to take, who else would have taken that much damage that fast. But no, that was just the E. That wasn't even a buster shot. So
Yeah.
like for Dallas, it was definitely more, it felt like more damage over time almost. And against a team comp like this, any type of poke or damage over time is just not it. It just doesn't work well when you have so much healing from Seraphine and from that Taric, and Pip again healing up just all that they want. And again, I feel that was just CB Rush masterclass yet again. They are now 2-0 up over ID Frozen yet again, but at least this time ID Frozen get a third chance.
Yeah, they have that opportunity, which is provided by being in the the final situation of our season here.
Yep.
But what can they do, right? This is the thing. Their team comp looked good, right?
Right.
It didn't look bad at all. Yeah, we said, oh, look, they baited the Tristana in it's
Right.
we're at a point where as we progress to say good things about CB Rush and the way that they drafted and the way that they played, we start having to say bad things about ID Frozen, right? Because there's only so much where like your team is doing phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
CB Rush is playing perfectly
Mm-hmm.
in both games. They have drafted incredible comps. They have played both comps incredibly well. They have countered the other team's comp incredibly well.
Yep.
At what point does ID Frozen have to say, we need to do something different? Because they can't keep drafting the same thing. They have to go into the tried and true Wombo combo because they are not winning team fights at all. They need a top lane that, I mean, they had a top lane that didn't lose. Okay, perfect, great. How do you transition that? What's happening on the rest of the map? Because your jungler is not the reason that your top lane is not losing, right? So your jungler has to be the reason that your other lanes are succeeding. Things like that. These are the little adjustments that they need to have a little bit of introspection on, and that we can't be the ones to say this is what has to be done or this is what they're doing wrong, because we don't know what's happening on the other side of their client.
Exactly. And like just looking at it again, this is another one of those drafts where ID Frozen, they took what CB Rush used to beat them last time, and they said, we're going to try to do it. And they, even then, they have not succeeded. So they're going to have to do some analysis. They're going to have to have a very quick turnaround here from their coach. And if you want a personal coach, mind you, we'll do some quick shilling for Medify while we can. If you want a personal coach to help you understand what goes on behind the scenes here when you get those types of losses, to help you not only readjust your gameplay but readjust your mental, again, you can go and use our code CC10 at Try Medify. While you do that, we will take a very brief break while we get set up for game number 3. Again, this is elimination. This is the lower bracket. If CB Rush win, they move on. If ID Frozen lose, they're out. So if ID Frozen keeps themselves alive, we'll have to see. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody, one and all. Welcome back for the third and potentially final game of the series tonight between ID Frozen and CB Rush. Now, before we get too far into this, before we get too far into, oh, no, you know what, this is it, CB Rush, they just stomp them, they just have ID Frozen's number, it's impossible. ID Frozen, they have changed things up, all right?
Mm-hmm.
They lost the previous game, they chose red side. Now they choose blue side, right? Maybe they've learned a couple things, we'll see. But again, if they want to win here and continue on, they have to reverse sweep. We have to go to silver scrapes, and they have to completely turn around. It's not they've been playing bad, but they have to like go Super Saiyan 3
Yeah.
if they want, or like 5. I don't know. There's like 10 forms at this point.
Oh,
They
then they
gotta
need all of them.
they need all of them. They really do to just overcome this. Okay. They have to be Frieza that goes trains in the hyperbolic time chamber for 5 months or whatever. All right. They have to have such a quick turnaround here, and it better be intense. We're already into the picks and bans for the draft. CB Rush, I don't think you change a thing. You just say, all right, you know what? We might ban something here or there now that we're on red side. ID Frozen, they ban the Zin, they keep the Silas off the table. We'll see what they change up if they change up their third.
Honestly, the two big stick bans CB Rush has already dropped, right? In my
Right.
opinion, those are the two that they have to keep. Keep the Aatrox, keep the Trundle, lock him down, get it out. The Tarek ban, I love. Yes,
Right.
that Tarek has been wreaking havoc no matter what CB Rush decided to do with it, no matter who they paired it with. Absolute. And the Seraphine ban gone back, leaves the Wukong open.
Yep.
This is a huge change.
Yes. And honestly, probably a better blind pick than your ADC. So,
Twitch.
yeah, the Twitch and the misfortune in the previous game. So, again, it wasn't technically blind pick. It was the Seraphine that was picked up. But again, it was
Yeah.
still first pick, ADC. They go for their first pick. Again, in theory, this can still be top lane, but Wukong has been much more in the jungle recently.
Mhm.
I like the pick. It's been in the ban presence. We'll see how CB Rush answer. They go with the Sejuani again, which, I mean, you might as well. Hunter Wolfsteal performed so well on it last time. That seems to be the secondary pick after the Zin gets banned.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that pickup for sure. Even just in the straight up matchup in terms of junglers, right? You take a look at Wukong, who has a dash, decent damage, some CC, an AoE CC ultimate, and then you have Sejuani, who's got a dash, some damage, CC, and an AoE CC ultimate, right? The difference is Wukong's going to deal a little more damage. Sejuani's going to live a little bit longer. However, Sejuani does have a little more CC overall, and it looks like a Varus is coming out. We saw that
In
banned last game.
Yeah,
Whose hands though?
that is true. Varus mid, I've seen it. Okay, unironically, I've seen it more recently than I have before. So, in theory, we could see it. It's the only Darkin that missed the memo, doesn't have the double A. But hey, maybe we'll get another triple A performance out of Rutledge or Glacial for ID Frozen. Again, who do you pick up? I don't honestly. I'm not sure they would have had Varus on their radar. Like again, I wasn't able to look at
They
solo
banned it
queue
last game.
stats recently. Like
Didn't they ban? They banned Virus last game.
I thought CB Rush banned. Hold on.
I don't have the old link
Or
up.
they, you know what? You're correct. They did.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is on their radar. So CB Rush pick it up. But ID Frozen, honestly, I like the Nautilus. That's one of my favorite in supports. And again, that is something that for Sokar, that is again one of their most played.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit more comfort. I like it, but oh boy.
When you leave it up, it's gonna show. I love Renata. We talk about her all the time. One of the biggest and most influential supports that you could possibly pick up simply because of the hostile takeover. We have seen
Yep.
it wreak not just havoc, but sheer
Huh.
devastation. And an Olaf ban, yes. 100% yes. Look at your composition. You have CC Ultimate, CC Ultimate, CC Ultimate. You do
Right.
not want to lose those to something that's going to walk at you. You also don't want to have the flex capabilities that come with it. Mordekaiser, they don't want to pay the taxes. Of course, it makes
Right.
total sense. What are we going to get in the top lane? Probably a set. Now,
I wouldn't be surprised, although at the same time, still hasn't been banned yet. CB Rush, they're now throwing a little bit of respect down towards Dallas. They are banning away the Sivir, at least that's what it looks like. So, I mean, if you're ID Frozen, this is definitely it definitely feels like we're going in a little bit of a different direction for the draft. Not necessarily a ton, but again, I think the Wukong there might make all the difference. And honestly, I really am looking at Nubly to start answering Hunter Wolfsteal because again, while Rutledge, and Glacial in the previous game, or really even Pip in the previous game, were having phenomenal games, that was all facilitated by Hunter Wolfsteal, who has just been so aggressive. And Nubly really has to match. And honestly, I think Wukong is a really good champion to do it on, but he has to play it aggressively and go for the match. And there's the set ban.
Of
ID
course.
Frozen,
So
ID Frozen had the same read as you.
yeah, exactly. There's no reason to not do that at this point, right? You do not want to leave that open for Pip. He's going to play it. Mind you, Pip has played 2 different champions in 2 different games, including full reversing the matchup that he won in the first game and won it again. It looks like we do have the Varus mid lane. It
Yep.
is going to be the Nyla Renata bot lane, which I like. Renata provides a
Okay.
lot of protection, right?
Right.
I would like to see a hyper carry though. Dallas, I mean, yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah,
It keep far enough away. Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, I'll take it. Sure. Especially into the Nyla. This is definitely some a lane dominance pick. I mean, you've got
right.
Caitlyn Nautilus is an incredible combo. Why?
Yeah.
Hook into Cupcake. That's it.
Yep.
Right? There's a ton of damage.
Yeah.
Right off just off the top. Boom. You do that. Nautilus pops the W for the shield, walks away. That's it. No.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
Yes.
Elsa from Frozen, one of their most played, again, a very good champion they are very comfortable on, but this is not something that we often see. This ain't no Garen Yumi meta, folks. That is just a Garen.
Yeah. This
I
is a
see.
Garen in a composition that it belongs in, though.
Yeah. Look,
Um,
we're gonna have so many spinning monkeys.
so
Spinning monkeys. Just
we have the
you
spinning
spin
monkey.
me
We've got
right round, baby, right round. Okay, anyways, we can't get copywritten, but hey, I like the answer from CB Rush. Just put him in the baby cage.
I was gonna leave. I just about walked out. Jarvan, great pickup here as well. Gives engage, gives counter engage. We've seen it a ton. There's damage, there's CC, there's tankiness. He's just a good champion. Doesn't matter.
Right.
His kid's incredible.
Yeah. And
Um, go ahead.
well, I mean, I like it a lot. And okay, so here's the thing. CB Rush, again, the Caitlyn, the Caitlyn, the Oriana, pretty good into Renata. Wukong, Nautilus, Garen, and they picked the Garen into the Renata. I know you
Mm-hmm.
can't just there can't just be one pick that entirely changes your plan for draft, but that feels like CB Rush. Once we get into those team fight situations, which is where they always shine, it's not like they struggle in lane, but they don't necessarily dominate the lane. Once they're fighting, which is where, the Renata Garen interaction is going to come into play, that just doesn't feel really, really great for ID Frozen.
I gotta do something to you that you always do to me, and I am going to enjoy it a great deal. Take a look at the 2 teams. Take a look at the champions that they have selected, and go ahead and turn your attention over to CB Rush at the first champion they chose and the last champion that they chose.
Right?
Who's going where?
I mean, okay,
Jarvan top?
look, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is a Sejuani top. 100% that's a Sejuani top. I didn't even realize it. But no, actually wait, I don't know now. Wait, I don't know.
Right?
Wait,
Think
no.
about the matchups. No matter which way you choose to look at this matchup in the top lane, Garen wins, right?
Yeah.
Garen
Okay,
wins this top lane.
in that case, if Garen wins the top lane, you put Sejuani in the top. I
Yes.
wasn't saying that just because Pip picked it, but you put Sejuani in the top lane because that's just an ultimate. For Jarvan can make a lot more stuff happen early, ultimate
Mhm.
or not. So yeah, hey, you know
Yes.
what? You know what?
I'm
Thank you.
so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Have come
Thank
so
you.
far. You have come so
Look at
far.
me, chat. Look at me. I'm growing. Aren't you all so
All
proud
right,
of
so
me?
I'm gonna play by play.
We're turning it around.
No.
We're turning it
No.
around.
There's so much spinning going on, no one will even notice.
Yeah, but I will say this is going to be like these team fights are going to be chaotic. Nubly and Elsa, they are I don't unless we see a side lane Garen, which maybe we do. There are some really crazy Garen builds where the movement speed is just like
Mhm.
insane and nobody can catch him. Um but again, this feels like a big team fight comp from ID Frozen. It feels like they're going to be walking face first into a Renata.
But here's the thing.
We'll
I
see.
actually really like side lane Garen in this
Right.
comp, right?
Right.
Because I mean, ID Frozen just with Just with the composition they have so much CC and so much
Mhm.
AoE burst. If Caitlyn can just keep up and be okay, she'll be
Right.
able to chunk through a lot, and then
Right.
they can clear wave very, very well. If they decide to go for that side lane Garen build, like you talked about, he picks up, I can't remember what it is. It's the ADC item that gives you the dash. Like it's the,
It's the I know what it is.
everybody knows what I'm talking about,
It's got
right?
the arrows, it's got the
Yeah,
it's the bow with
everybody
the
knows what I'm
arrows.
talking about.
Yeah,
So you buy
I can't
that,
remember right now.
right? Because
Yes.
then, if I remember correctly, your mythic passive is everything gives you movement speed. Right? So you build
Yes.
that, and then
Yes.
you build Swifties, and then you have your Q on top of it, and then you pick up Phantom Dancer so that you have the what is it, the minion walk where you just pass through minions. They don't interfere, right? No
Right.
one's gonna be able to catch you. They're gonna lock you down. You're gonna pop your W as soon as you get hit by any CC, and then you're gonna run away. No one's gonna be able to fight you because you're not gonna be there. You pick up a Warmogs on top of your passive, you're gonna run away, wait 15 seconds, you're full health, and you're gonna go back. And
Right.
you're gonna keep
It's
going over and over
Gale
and over.
Force. It's
Gale
Gale
Force.
Force.
Yes, thank you. So, in a situation like that, I love it because he's just going to keep pushing and hammering down the sideline. And if they
Right.
try to tower dive ID Frozen, you're tower diving a Wukong, Nautilus, Orianna.
And Caitlyn too. Just throw out a trap. Yeah.
You don't even need to,
Hard.
forget Caitlyn. Don't even think about Caitlyn. You can take all 5 members of CB Rush and try and dive that composition. And
Right.
they just all press R and you go for 15 seconds. Uh,
It's going I look, I both of these teams feel like the team fight comms that they want you know what? They want to run into each other, right? They want to be walking at, they want the other team to be walking into them, right? They are both dive comms, of course, but so I think this might be one of those games where whoever gets to objectives first will have the advantage, and CB Rush notably tend to be much better at that than ID Frozen have. So we'll have to see how that plays out. ID Frozen, they might have to adjust a little bit how they play around those objectives.
Yeah, and the big thing, feel like the big thing really does come down to this Garen pick, right?
Yeah.
It is a gamble, massive. Sure, Elsa from Frozen plays a ton. That's fine. Elsa from Frozen has played 2 champions that they play a ton, both
Hmm.
games. Into Pip, who has played 2 champions that they don't play a ton of
Right.
and lost both times. Right? Pip has straightforward and very, very simply outplayed Elsa
Right.
both games so far. That is where the pivot point comes. Elsa is the linchpin of this team at this point. As we mentioned in game number 1, they were the fallback. So many times when the rest of the team fell behind, you could count on Elsa to pick you up and keep you moving. They have not had that for 2 games in a row,
Yep.
and that is not because of jungler presence. They just simply have not had it. Elsa needs to step up. Elsa is playing a comfort pick that does not mesh with the team and really, really has to make it worth their while.
Yeah, and so that if you're CB Rush, you look at that, you figure out what their win conditions are, and that's where you have to attack. And of course, you can use our wonderful sponsor, Pro Comps, to now analyze your opponent's picks in your own games for both competitive and casual play alike for both players and coaches. Again, use the code CCS at checkout down below. You'll see once again our little advert video running after this. But once again, ID Frozen, they are fighting for survival. We'll see if CB Rush can ice their chances though in just a little bit. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody panic! Hold on! I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is CB Rush versus ID Frozen, and ID Frozen won the level 1 first blood for Elsa. That's the top lane advantage we were looking for, and that's revenge for the entire team on Rutledge for what he did to them in Game 2.
That looked mutually agreed. Right? Like, don't get me wrong here, but that was bull. Rutledge walked mid. There was nobody in a bush. There was no black. He just ran it down. He just ran it down mid. Rutledge said sorry. He just apologized. He said it's okay. Here, take one. But here's the thing. They burned 2 flashes for it.
Yeah.
What is happening? I mean, I get it. Yeah, okay, Nautilus, you want to flash in to make sure you get the... He was standing right in front of you, man.
You could have just...
You didn't have to. You didn't even have to hook him.
You take... I mean, yeah, like, that was just the auto attack. Elsa from Frozen invested. I'm not sure that was necessary at all, but, you know, I will say this is the best, quite literally, the best possible start you could have if you are ID Frozen in this game. You get Elsa the additional money, was able to go back and get the dagger, additional attack speed, should dominate this lane now. You get assists on everybody, that's extra experience, that's extra gold. Again, you couldn't ask for better, but if they don't win from this, then CB Rush, you're walking off this being like, all right, we got this comeback. Because again, right now, CB Rush have put ID Frozen in the position they were in last week, right? Which doesn't feel good. So CB Rush being on the opposite end of this kind of domination, like, the mental buff is probably as strong, if not stronger, than the gold buff that you get right now. And Rutledge died and is in the process of 1v1ing Watercat right now. Sokart goes in, the action doesn't stop. Glacial is so weak. Dallas has the range. The Ignite was ticked down, but it didn't get the kill. Pip now a little bit too far forward, and Nubly gets the aggressive level 2 gank. This is madness. 2 kills for ID Frozen. They are causing chaos in the early game.
Elsa doing everything required right now. Came in with the Ignite, was ready for the early fight, wanted the early fight, took the early fight. Nubly knew all of that and early ganked top. Now Elsa from Frozen up a kill and an assist, up a little bit of farm. It's going to go away pretty quickly. It doesn't matter. Big thing that I wanted to draw attention to, though, Rutledge very nearly had that kill on Watercat, but didn't use Ignite. It was just about lane pressure. That's it. All he was doing was flexing in that fight. That's it.
And he still is. He's getting a little low on mana, so these arrows, we'll stop seeing them come out shortly. And again, doesn't have TP, so Watercat will be able to TP back, but like that was action in every single lane, and notably, so Sokart did use the Ignite, forced Glacial to use the heal. Hunter Wolf Steel wants some action, but is caught on a ward. That is the handshake. Sokart gets pulled back, knocked into the wall. Hunter Wolf Steel is coming in for the action, goes in with the QE combo. Sokart is getting out of there, and Glacial gets the kill, but invests the flash. Love Me falls next. There is no Renata ultimate to turn this dive around. Nubly had the advantage in the top side of the map, but does not have it down here. That said, Dallas takes down his counterpart in the ADC position. Summoner's blown across the board. It's a 2-for-2 on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, ultimately look at where the kills went as well. 1 to jungler, 1 to ADC, everything that you want. All of the lead remains in the hands of IDF, right? Yeah. Yes, you need to be making those plays, Hunter Wolf Steel, for certain. However, Hunter Wolf Steel missed his EQ combo on Sokart. He did not land the knockup, which meant the Nautilus got a little further out of range, which ultimately led to Glacial blowing his flash prematurely. Which in turn probably cost Glacial his life.
Absolutely.
So, a couple little misplays here and there, things that we have not seen from CB Rush so far this game. I said they played everything perfectly up until this, not this game, but this series, the first 2 games. So that, wow, the aggression.
Yeah, Glacial is glowing in. Again, this is auto attack range. Dallas has absolutely no mana and no defensive summoner spells, but Nubly is here again. Glacial gets the 1v1 kill on his lane opponent, but falls in response. This is the bloodiest early game we have had so far. That's his 8 kills in 5 minutes. Elsa from Frozen is extremely weak. Pip even has the level advantage, is underneath the turret. I doubt we're going to see the kill, but even with all this bloodshed, it's a 1,000 gold lead for the side of ID Frozen for the time being.
Pip is only 400 gold up, by the way. Down a level, just now catching up in levels because of the wave push. Pip playing perfectly. That is your alliteration for the day, folks. Pip has dominated this top lane in all of the matchups that we have seen thus far. This one is incredibly different from the other ones, but he's definitely going to continue looking to brawl. How can you tell? He picked up a Tear of the Goddess on that recall. He wants to use all of the abilities that he can to harass and to push. He wants none of this Garen under his tower.
Yep, and I will say, like, when, you know, in card games, right? I'm a card game player a lot. I'm not necessarily good enough for League of Legends for coaching, but card games, I've done some. And when you are in a losing position, when you're getting your breaks beaten off of you, what I always tell people is you have to change things up, right? If the other team is just better than you at a standard game state, then you have to make the game state completely non-standard and as weird and funky as possible. And that's exactly what ID Frozen are doing here. And again, it's paying off. We see the handshake comes through, it gets this done, but that's about it. So CB Rush, it's going to be on to them to try to, you know, level up, try to adapt and overcome this. We might see that from under Wolfsteal, but ID Frozen are doing what they need to.
I have to say, interaction noted off of what we just saw right there. Turns out Nyla can just dash out of the hook.
Yes.
Very important to note.
Can dash two champions. There we see the EQ combo hit on the Sogard. This Nautilus is not getting out of there this time. There was no flash to escape. Glacial is picking up these kills quite effectively. Pip gets hit with the spin from Elsa, but gets out of there relatively fine as Rutledge takes some shots and gets hit by the shock wave, but does not go down. Unfortunately, had to use the flash already. It is already positioning very aggressively. Does have a ward down the bottom side of the river to try to get out of there. Gets the root. Is trying to go for the kill, but doesn't have the damage. Watercat takes down Rutledge. A second kill for the mid laner. Or, I'm sorry, a second death for the mid laner of CB Rush.
Yeah, wonderful positioning by Noobly there, making sure that he could get in. Utilizing one of the biggest changes that we have seen to this champion, the ability to hop over walls with the Monkey W there. Put him in prime positioning. Prime position for the Primate, if you will, to get in and pick up that kill in the mid lane. Number 3 for him. This Wukong getting ahead is very good because he will be doing a lot of damage. Already has the Sheen, gets the sweep into the top to hit level 6. Hunter Wolfsteal not quite 6 himself just yet, so we do not have the baby cage, but we do have the monkey spin.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. The Cyclone is active. Hunter Wolfsteal, even if he did have the Cataclysm, Noobly would just be able to dash over it. Elsa from Frozen with the Demacian Justice just executes Hunter Wolfsteal. Pip is still trying to go in, drops the Ignite. Noobly goes down. Pip trades the 1-for-1.
That Pip, again, showing why he has won these first 2 games in this lane. Very well played, matching the Ignite on the summoners that we saw, or that I called attention to from Elsa. Picking up the kill right there on the jungler. I don't believe there was shutdown gold picked up there just yet. I'm not sure because the death had come in. Okay, yes, possibly a small amount. I mean, there is no small amount when you're on the island of top lane, right? One way or the other, a big pickup there. And you're correct about the, the baby cage wouldn't necessarily have mattered a great deal, but the biggest play there was the matched flash by Elsa onto Hunter Wolfsteal. Simultaneous flashing in order to drop the Demacian Justice and pick up that kill due to the execution-styled damage. And now we see Noobly having just finished his item, going into the mid lane.
Hunter Wolfsteal goes in with the EQ, but Noobly is here. Watercat with the shockwave pulls the Jarvan in. Rutledge does not have a ton of burst damage right now, just has the arrows, even invests the ultimate yet again. That is another kill going over to Watercat.
Yeah, Noobly is in the right place at the right time, right? Yep. This is everything that we said Hunter Wolfsteal was doing initially. Now we are seeing it from the other side of the map. This could very much be the turnaround that they were looking for. It is not coming from where I expected it to be in this top lane. It is instead coming from the jungle, who is once again
making some action happen. Rutledge still with no flash, is still playing so aggressively. Again, Varus is not an assassin, cannot just take somebody out with him, and falls for the 3rd time in 10 minutes.
And how much damage did we see Rutledge do in game 1? How much in game number 2? What a difference this is right now relative to those 2 situations on a 0 mobility champion. He got a little too comfortable after playing that Tristana, it seems. Still thinks that he does as much as he did then. Varus not the auto attack monster that Tristana was, and
They do. Okay, notably, Hunter Wolf still does have the Cataclysm, though. Uses it, has to drop it immediately. There we go. We see the hostile takeover used, but it does not hit Sokar. It hits only Sokar, not Dallas, and Dallas falls yet again. Glacial continuing to get an advantage in this bottom side, but these kills are only making up for this massive CS deficit.
That hostile takeover only hitting Sokar actually doesn't matter. Sokar was the perfect target for that. Why? The auto attack ended up rooting Dallas, which is why he ended up dying. So, sure, it'd be much better if you could hit both of them. However, of the two, that was the perfect one in that moment. Glacial getting some free farm and some plates here as well, while Love Me heads to the mid lane just to kind of, ease the pressure off of Rutledge a wee bit.
Yep, and of course, at this point, Glacial does have the Apotheosis, which was used. Pip is currently in a 2v1, but has cleared out the wave, and that means the players are going to be taking these tower shots. It has ramped up considerably. Shelly now is going to be taking it, but Pip pops the eye. This will only be one charge, and, well, that is 4 plates. It's not the 5 and first turret gold that CB Rush were able to get in the previous game, but it is still quite a lot. That said, that is again a Dragon for Herald trade, 1-for-1 on the Drakes, 1 Herald over to ID Frozen, and Pip still wants to push, and Elsa from Frozen is waiting here, and that reveals the positioning, and top laners will now just hang out for a little bit doing top lane things.
Pip is doing everything correctly here. That was an incredible play with the ultimate under tower there to force the damage rotation in and out between Elsa and Nubly. Ultimately, as you said, resulting in only a single charge and the tower still being up. Pip playing phenomenally yet again, winning this lane seemingly yet again. I mean, sing praises for this man.
Rutledge is actually still alive, didn't die instantly, is taking quite a bit of damage. Watercat might get the kill. Rutledge flashes aggressively again, but that is 2. One of them going over to Rutledge, one of them going over to Hunter Wolfsteal. Nubly wasn't here in time this time. It's now a 3v1. The Monkey's going to get shut down. Well, there's no shutdown goal, but a double kill over to Rutledge. This Varus is popping off now.
A very, very big difference when both junglers happen to be there, and you have one of them that has reusable CC. That is the advantage of the Jarvan. Hits the knock-up, the fight goes through, one goes down, you wait 8 seconds, and you do it again. Rinse, repeat. Wonderful situation right there for CB Rush, able to bring 2 kills to their mid laner, who is definitely having a difficult time, and now Hunter Wolf kind of wants to turn it to the top lane as well.
There's a wave here. The knock-up comes through. Turret shots are coming down, but Pip with the knock-up as well, and Elsa from Frozen had everything that they wanted. They had the solo advantage, but Pip on this Sejuani, you said it, is just playing better.
Pip is so good. He's so good.
Like right now, CB Rush, again, they were definitely good in the regular season, but honestly, I will say, if you looked at kind of our power rankings, Rutledge was rated pretty high. Glacier was rated relatively high, but thinking that they were potentially, some of the top players in the league, top 3, hard hat zone, you can't, can't put Rutledge above alternative. But I definitely think Glacial is in contention for best ADC now, which is kind of where Dallas was previously, I think. And again, you have Joker for Dorado Gaming Omega, but again,
that's not fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite fair. That's a literal world champion. So if you're Glacial, you're feeling real good about this. Hunter Wolfsteal, this is going to be another 3v3. Glacial goes in, but if a little too early, Apotheosis comes down into the Renata ultimate, into the Cataclysm. It's layered on top of layer on top of layers. Glacial gets the first kill, but the ADC gets it back. That's a double kill now for ID Frozen. Watercat is on the way. It's 2v2 right now. Rutledge has arrived. Hunter Wolfsteal is extremely weak. The Caitlyn ultimate comes through, but it is blocked by the Varus. 11-11 is the kills right now. Gold is dead even.
Yeah, Rutledge just a little bit of incorrect target prioritization there, missing his ultimate. No lockdown comes through, unable to continue. The kills going back in his favor. Takes half his health bar for stepping on that trap. This is not good.
Yeah, this is a very easy dive. Rutledge just falls. Turret shots don't hit Nubly enough times, and that's a little bit of a cleanup down on the bottom side of the map, and Dallas should be getting this turret here soon.
Yeah, and Hunter Wolfsteal, he couldn't do anything about that. He was just taking Gromp, and that's what he should have been doing. There's absolutely no reason to be under that tower in that moment. Unfortunately, Rutledge out of position for a 4th time. This is more deaths than we have seen in all of the other matches combined on Rutledge.
He's just, again, he's playing with a ton of confidence, right? I can Like, we can see it. And this is Varus is not a champion that you should be playing with a ton of confidence on against this type of team comp. Watercat does have to flash out, get stunned up, but the EQ hits too. Noobly is here. The shockwave comes in. Noobly gets one, but it's Pip versus Noobly. Sokark has arrived. Maybe the 2v1 can turn it around. Nobody else is here. Varus is on the way, but Pip, Hunter Wolfsteal dies, Watercat dies. It's a 1-for-1, and Pip gets out of there alive despite there being almost three members of ID Frozen there, and Glacial gets a turret for the mid lane skirmish.
We have to keep in mind that if I recall correctly, ID Frozen was up 3 kills at one point, if not more.
Yes.
And it is now a 1 kill, 300 gold difference. Literally exactly 1 kill difference. This is absurd.
Yeah.
Absolutely absurd comeback by CBR compared to the introduction of this game. Where it goes from here, I'm not even going to begin to try to guess, aside from the fact that CB Rush is lacking in the magic damage side.
Right.
So, should ID Frozen come to realize this and decide to do something about it and build a significant amount of armor, it will be much more effective than it was in their last match.
Sokark going in with no follow-up. Noobly is here, sends himself over the wall. Or actually, I thought he was going to send a phone over the wall and see Rutledge, but now Noobly goes in, gets rooted down. Glacial is a little bit too far, but here comes the hostile takeover into a choke point. Sokark goes down. That is the Nautilus that has fallen, but a ton of damage on the backside. The spinning to winning is absolutely happening. Pip is trying to deal with the backside of the fight as well as Hunter Wolfsteal is helping him out. Love Me has managed to get out of there, but that is Glacial and Rutledge. That's a majority of the damage for CB Rush. It's 2 for 2. The top side of both teams is still alive. Love Me is on the run. Noobly and Pip, I think they just have more damage here. Elsa from Frozen, the Demacian Judgment has already been used, and now it's in 1v1 with Pip. He's going to try to take down Hunter Wolfsteal, but it's just not going to happen. That is the delayed ace for CB Rush, and they get the dragon.
The difference in that 2v2 is CC.
Yep.
That is what we saw. That is the monkey having none left, and yet again the Jarvan hitting EQ after EQ after EQ, able to keep the monkey in the air in tandem with the Sejuani charge. The giant Poro doing massive work regardless of the rider on its back, and it wouldn't be a series if we didn't have a little bit of Sepia.
Of course. So just a little notification. Rutledge has apparently DC'd. So I believe each team has 10 minutes of pause time. Hopefully he will be able to reconnect and make it back. Now, I believe previously, I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody, what was it? Was it
Glacial.
I don't know. It was Glacial that was
It was Glacial last time. In the last series, yeah.
Who was running from library to library? I feel like we casted that. I don't remember who. I don't know if it was us or somebody, but it was iconic. We were trying to finish this. I don't even remember when it was. It was so long ago. I felt like it was during the lock-in tournament, but
I think it was. I don't think it was me. I think it was during lock-in.
Right. I think it was ID Frozen. Somebody was having to. I could have sworn it was ID Frozen. Somebody was having to make things a little bit difficult, but I hope we don't have that situation. Rutledge should be back relatively shortly, but again, I mean, we can talk about this. ID Frozen, they did honestly what I think they should do. They made the early game chaotic. Noobly has been an absolute bomb. Has been a factor in 14 of 15 kills, right? But despite that, CB Rush have stabilized. They've more than stabilized. They now have a 2,000 gold lead. They have a 2 kill lead. They have a tower lead. They are now, it's their turn to stack Drakes. And I mean, not to mention Cloud Soul on ID Frozen's champions would be really good, specifically on Garen and Wukong. And CB Rush are just denying it at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Already 2 up. And I mean, what do we always say CB Rush is very good at? It's getting the Drake first. We've got ours in the chat. Looks like the connection has come back. Now, again, you can expect a little bit of stutter. It's going to happen a few times. It's just it catching back up. It's a spectator problem that comes from, having a small little indie company running such an incredibly large game.
Yeah, donate funds to Rito, people. Donate funds to Rito. They really need it.
Yeah, buy your RP. That stands for Rito points, by the way. If you weren't, I mean, I know most of you out there won't know. It's okay.
This is a very casual viewer experience. I know we got a very small audience. We're definitely dominating this game's viewership experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a very large game or even player base at this point in time. So make sure you give them your money, but also make sure that you give both of these teams your support because this is the closest game that we have had in this series yet, and we still have the possibility of 2 more should this one go in the way of Iron Frozen.
Yeah, and again, they had their early game. Here's our brief stutter. Don't worry, we will be back, and we're back in action. But again, they had their good early game. Now they are falling behind. They have to latch in their claws. They have to dig in. But now Rutledge has enough damage to, like, every time that Rutledge died, he was trying to take somebody out with him. Now he has the damage to do it at this point, right? Even without the completed items, the auto attack speed coming in is just like somebody's gonna die along with Rutledge now that the ultimate is there along with the damage. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But just again, a brief item check-in. Everybody has their first item. CB Rush, they're taking Rift Herald, and it's the entire team that is up here. So again, everyone has their first items. People that have their second items, we got Pip, we got Hunter Wolf Steel, we have Nubly. And we got a couple. We got our mid laner in Rutledge and ADC and Dallas getting towards their second one. But all of a sudden, CB Rush, they want to go in. They want more. But ID Frozen, they don't take the bait.
No summoners pop, but they did manage to bait out the monkey spin. That is a huge, absolutely huge team fight ability that is offline for a good minute or so at this point in the game. So this should be a nice, easy push into mid lane. They're actually holding on to the Rift Herald here. They don't want to use it on this mid lane tower. Nubly in the back. You don't have ultimate, dude. Not sure what you're thinking.
No, he's not going to be able to Cyclone out of here. He goes for the flash. Does have the clone to go over the wall, but that is the wrong direction. The Glacial Prison is dropped, and Nubly just falls. Orianna took a tower on the bottom side of the map. That is jungler for tower. I mean, I guess you take the gold.
Yeah, that was 3 ultimates used just for that 1 kill, though. And, I mean, take a look at the map state right now. Garen is doing Garen things. Does have this Stride Breaker on his side as well, which, hey, guess what? Grants all other legendary items 2% move speed.
Right.
Looks like we're getting what we thought we would. Even has the Berserker's Greaves in order to make sure that he can clear waves and deal damage very, very quickly.
I mean, this is, now it feels like ID Frozen, they're spreading their wings, right? They're going into their side lane plays. I will say Orianna on a side lane, not the safest in the world, so maybe we expect Nubly to go on that side lane. But again, we wanted to see them do a 1-4, maybe a 1-3-1, probably a 1-4. And this is where they have to show that they can execute it, because CB Rush are just better than them at fighting. So ID Frozen, they have to level up their macro game here.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact that, as you saw right there, Glacial is actually planning to freeze this wave and have it very, very slow roll inwards. That is a very strong counterplay when you are expecting a split push to be happening, because it means that they have to push very deep into your territory in order to maintain any sort of map pressure. Note the 2 wards that are up on that top side there in the red, as well as that bush, going to be able to see the Garen wherever he chooses to go should he disappear from lane. Garen falling for it, hook, line, and sinker, is in that top lane. Meanwhile, the pressure is being moved down to the bottom, where the wave has already pushed its way into the tower, and they can clearly see Orianna standing there clearing it.
Yep. And again, Herald has not been dropped. Notably, Dragon spawns in a minute. This is CB Rush. We got the support jungle duo playing something cheeky, but again, I think as soon as this dragon starts to spawn, they're going to try to get that mid priority with the Herald, as they're playing around it right now while Pip goes into the side lane against Watercat. So again, CB Rush, they know what they want. They're back on Drake duty after kind of shirking it a little bit in the early game. So again, 50 seconds, we're going to see some recalls. Rutledge just recalled, completed the Gale Force, so has that additional escape tool. Will be much harder to take out now. Muramana gets the transform. All in all, Rutledge has just hit a huge power spike as well as Glacial. So this dragon is going to be a very difficult contest if ID Frozen actually want to go for it. We see the pings coming down. It might just be like a little bit of warning. Hey, they're going to get soul point, just letting you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just got to be very, very wary of everything that is happening on the map in the immediate. There's just a lot happening. Nubly looking for a play mid, though.
Goes in. That is Glacial. That's the weakest member, the easiest to target. The flash comes through, but the Demacian Justice takes him down. Hunter Wolf Steel taking a ton of damage from Elsa from Frozen. The spinning is happening, but again, the hostile takeover. They can't escape. Sokart comes in on the backside. Watercat and Dallas, they are the damage. They're still here, but that's a triple kill for Rutledge. They might make it a quadra. They do indeed. Watercat's the only one that escapes. Both junglers are down, but with 3 members still alive, that should absolutely be sole point for CB Rush.
This man started the match 0-3. He started the match literally running it down and handing over first blood without a thought. He said, go ahead, take 500 gold. I'll see you later.
Yeah, you'll need it. You'll need it.
Here's the thing. He gave gold to 4 people in that initial death. What did he just do? How many people did he just kill on his own? 4 of them. Right? That is a quad. That is soul point. That is absolute devastation. The sheer amount of damage coming out. The attack speed that he has after killing someone is disgusting. Rutledge showing why he is so threatening. No matter what you do to him, no matter how far behind he is for the first 10 minutes, in this case, almost even 20 minutes of the game, he's still going to be in your face and wipe your whole team.
Yeah, and that was the 5v5, right? That is, in fact, like, that's what ID Frozen wanted to avoid, and yet they still took it, right? They want to play those side lane pushes, they want to play those side lane splits, and they still said, let's go mid lane. Why not? And now CB Rush, they're going to try to take this Baron again. But, like, Hostile Takeover is active. We see Hunter Wolfsteel go in. Hostile Takeover hits 2. The lockdown comes in, but Wildcat does have quite a bit of damage. Another double kill for Rutledge. Us from Frozen with the Demacia Justice tries to get the 500 gold shutdown. Rutledge is still alive, though. The Caitlyn ultimate will not do it. Another triple kill. Again, started 0-3. Now at 10-5-3. This is going to be Baron for CB Rush. They want to send ID Frozen home and keep moving on in this lower bracket. Dallas, oh, he came in. He tried to get the steal. He tried to make the hero play. Glacial is chasing him down. Now, this ain't going to happen, buddy. And, hey, you know what? Got the kill on the Glacial, but Rutledge goes legendary.
Every single person needs to pay attention.
Oh my
Baron
God.
is not playing. Wolf.
Okay.
Hunter. Talk about hunted wolf. Jesus, you're a fur coat for the Clockwork Wonder at this point, buddy. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. You know, 3-5 and, that's, oh my God, that's 22.
So that's 25 of 26 for the Jarvan, by the way. Yes, I saw it as well. Yep, man is everywhere. That when you have the big CC of not just your EQ, but of your ultimate, I mean, you're going to pick up the assists, but you have to hit them. And boy, howdy, has he been hitting them. At this point, I mean, okay, I was going to say, if Newbie decides to keep going, Rutledge is right there.
Yeah, bailout movement speed gets Love Me out of there 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, without question. Man, I can't get over that. I want to draw attention. We don't have replays right now, so I'm very sorry. So I couldn't actually actively do it live. But go back and watch that fight again at the very end. Elsa from Frozen, full health, goes in, Qs, spins, tries to drop the Demacia Justice on Rutledge. However, as he is going in and spinning, Rutledge's entire team, every single living member of CBR, stacked on top of him. Yep. You could not actively select the correct character. You would have had to hover your mouse over top of the player icon somewhere else on your screen in order to get it to target him properly. Ultimately, it goes to someone else. And Rutledge lives, picks up a triple kill, and then the delayed quadro with the 4th pick to go legendary. I mean, I say it in jest when there's not much going on, but for posterity's sake, CBR, it is what it is, and you are where you are.
This is a dominant performance for the team throughout the series. Like, this, again, not to say this is like a redemption arc, but this is definitely, you know, you're going into the rest of this bracket. Hard Hat Zone are very obviously something that CB Rush have to contend with, you know, going forward, going into the future. Dorado is a very, very powerful team, right? Omega Gaming, Obsidian, right? Those are kind of the big title contenders right now. And CB Rush, while this performance is extremely dominant, I will say, I think they're still probably like, you know, that 4th spot, you know, that, you know, a little bit a tier below. But again, if they can replicate this type of performance, then they're just like, they're absolutely still title contenders. And I mean, honestly, like, we were talking about Glacial, we talked about Joker. Rutledge just might be the best ADC in the league.
Hey, you got to be careful with those words, man, at this point in time. I mean, I can't blame you after what we saw on the Tristana and now seeing it over on the Virus as well. He has definitely put on a show as to why.
No, Hunter Wolfsteal in on the backside. ID Frozen even saw them walk all the way there. Glacial and Dallas are 1v1, and the Apotheosis actually doesn't make it happen. Another double kill for Rutledge, though. Dallas and Watercat have to get out of these. Hunter Wolfsteal is on the chase down, takes away the kill, and Pip Watercat gets put in the Glacial prison. Elsa from Frozen was on the wrong side of the map and is running down now. You should have just taken the turret, buddy. Zonia's is popped. Watercat falls. It's Elsa versus the world, and they just run back to the mid lane, tail tucked between their legs. That is going to be Cloud Soul for CB Rush.
Even in the movies, Elsa needs her sister, and in this point in the game, Elsa has nobody on his side by the time he gets to the fight. He does not have teleport. He is not with his team. He's not taking towers. So what's the point of even running down there? You were correct. He should have just taken the tower. He was not going to turn the tides of that fight. It is incredibly unfortunate that he was so far away. A wonderful team fight out of CBR yet again. I don't know how many times we're going to say this. They just keep executing over and over and over. I have to call attention to Dallas. He is playing incredibly well. He is 5, 6, and 7. He is 3 items deep with boots. He is doing a ton of damage. He's getting out of the Jarvan combos. He's getting himself out of the baby cage. He is dodging everything in his power. The problem is the rest of his team is not living long enough to keep them away from him for him to kill them. There's only so much that you can do as a Caitlyn. You're not particularly a hyper carry. I appreciate the range that comes with it. I love the headshots that you can get as well. You're not a Zeri, you're not a Vayne, you're not shredding through a front line in 5, 6 bullets. It's going to take a little bit for you to get rolling, and it's incredibly unfortunate that your team isn't letting you do that. It's not entirely their fault, though, because, I mean, Hunter Wolfsteal, 29 for 30 still.
Glacial. The Apotheosis actually is not a great escape tool, so Glacial will fall, but the rest of CBR is on the way. Hunter Wolfsteal versus Elsa from Frozen. Elsa should be able to get out of there relatively quickly, so Glacial does fall. Nubly jumps over the wall, but this is not good for you. The monkey falls, and that was yep. Anyways,
I gotta say it to you, man. You're putting the noob in noob liquid place like that. I mean, you had it.
Let's. Okay,
it was a great pick.
Yeah.
It was a great pick by Elsa from Frozen. 100% what you want to have happening with this Garen in the top lane, able to chase down or run away from anybody. Your team was not with you. Going over the wall was over aggressive. Yes, you're 8 and 9. Like you have 8 kills. You do a lot of damage, but your team wasn't with you. You're not gonna 1v9. You need to play together. And that is the major difference that we see between these two teams. CBR always plays together.
Yep, they have the calls, they have the game sense too. And like one thing I wanted to say before that was notably for Glacial, like Glacial is 6, 8, and 14, right? Is doing well in this game, but has died quite a bit. Almost all of those deaths at this point in the game have either come from, you know, getting caught out in the side lane, but also Glacial and Dallas just keep 1v1ing each other. Right? Dallas keeps winning. Don't get me wrong. Dallas is winning the ADC positional fight. But because of that, because Dallas is so much of ID Frozen's damage and he's busy with Glacial during the entire fight, Rutledge is just tearing through the rest of his team. And so all of Dallas's damage going into Glacial, again, yeah, he's winning he's getting his one, but that's not what he's supposed to be doing. And
exactly. Winning your ones.
Oh, goodness. I mean, they're going in. The hostile takeover comes through. I mean, at this point, I'm a broken record. Nubly goes in the back, does have the Cyclone, but doesn't have the damage. Hunter Wolfsteal, GA does get popped. We are seeing Golden everywhere on the map. We see kills come through. Again, Glacial is the one to fall, but 2 members have fallen for the side of ID Frozen. This is a Baron buff coming into the top side of the map. That is another kill that's about to come in. The flash is forced out of Sokar. Watercat is here, but doesn't have a shockwave. CB Rush. They have 4 members alive. Watercat will fall shortly. This is going to be the ace. CB Rush in a clean 3-0. Send ID Frozen home, and we'll move on in the lower bracket.
Absolute domination in every single regard. The only place that I would say was even, if not in the favor of ID Frozen, would be bot lane.
Right.
And that wasn't even continuous. It was very back and forth. You said so yourself. Yes, Glacial was losing the 1v1s in this game to Dallas, but Glacial was winning the war in
Yep.
those situations because Dallas was all of the damage. Dallas needed to be shooting other people. Dallas was not shooting the right target in those fights. But Dallas could not afford to not shoot Glacial, or he would have died to Glacial instead.
Right.
Winning your ones only matters if enough people on your team do it. If
Yep.
only one person wins their ones, you lost the war, you lost the game. Very, very well played by CB Rush. That's really all I can say. We have talked about it after every single match. They played together. They drafted the right comps. They played around the right people. They transferred gold incredibly well. I mean,
Right.
the 5-plate transfer that we saw last game to make sure that it's spread across the whole map. They didn't funnel gold into one person. They said everybody needs this because everybody has to be able to keep up. Otherwise, we aren't going to be able to do it. That is team play to a T. They funneled it into the right people at the right time in the right manner in order to continue the path that they had started.
Yeah. It
Very well
was
done.
just again a phenomenal series from CB Rush. You need that type of win, honestly. After getting knocked down, they are starting their rise back up. They are starting the grind through the lower bracket again. For ID Frozen, they were our lock-in champions. There was a lot of hype around them, but again, we saw again CB Rush just had their number. Even when they were trying to make it weird, even when they were trying to throw CB Rush off, CB Rush just they took the punches on the chin. Specifically, Rutledge took the
Yeah.
punches on the chin. It
Rutledge
was like,
punched his own chin.
yeah, he was like, here, come on, right here, give it, and they did, and CB Rush were still able to adapt and overcome and come back, which shows that even if they get smashed in the early game, they can still make it happen. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the members from CB Rush, the man that honestly I know Rutledge popped off. Don't get me wrong. If my personal MVP for the series, we're going to be talking to them. It's going to be Pip from the top lane in just a little bit. We'll
Yes.
take a brief break to get that set up. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody, and welcome back again. We have the top laner from CB Rush here, Pip, the Sejuani master, the weak side dominator, the man, the myth, the legend. Congratulations on now officially going on a 5-win streak against ID Frozen, coming out with a relatively clean 3-0. And I will say, in that top lane, Elsa from Frozen was definitely a pretty big top lane name. Got some comfort picks, and you just kind of smashed. What was top? Was that just like you just won it? Was that did you just feel like you were out skilling? Were you out? Were you gapping Elsa, or do you think maybe Hunter Wolfsteel coming up and helping was a little bit of it? Was it the team play, or what? Did you get that solo experience?
Um, so in game one, that 2v2 that we won, that like
Right.
has really, really
Mhm.
close, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, I mean, I think it was like what, like 60, 100 health difference,
Yes.
right? If that loses, that lane's a lot different,
Right.
like a lot different. Obviously, it's kind of what happened game two,
Hmm.
um, and like how I kind of got way ahead and then you could never catch up.
Right.
Um, so that was kind of the difference maker there. And then in game two, like we got the Herald, we got the 5 plates. I did die, but then the map opened up like right afterwards. So I was
Right.
able to, get 9, 10 CS a minute, and I could just never ever really get punished for it. So
Yeah.
and then in game three, I was kind of surprised that he went to Garen. I guess the flex kind of caught him off guard because like that matchup was terrible
Yeah.
for Garen. Like
Right.
as you kind of saw, like he got a kill, he got the gank, and then like I was just winning trades the entire game. So it It's like a terrible Garen matchup. For
Right.
Yeah,
such like
definitely
Sejuani just dumpsters that lane.
definitely did not look fun, and I am not happy for him to have had to sit through that for I mean, that wasn't a fast game by any means, right? You guys had a clear lead for throughout most of or I shouldn't say throughout most of it, throughout about I guess after the 9-10 minute point in that last game. I guess my two big things that I wanna ask. First, was picking Renekton in game 2 an ego challenge? And second, how is it playing around Rutledge when he just walks down mid lane 30 seconds in and like that looked like a very intentional death. So what are these two? Answer one of the two or both, as you will.
Um, so the Renekton in game 2, like I wasn't too horribly concerned about Elsa playing Renekton. Like I'm pretty good at the matchup because I've played a decent amount of Ornn.
Right.
But I don't think that Pyrus does. Um, I honestly didn't think he would take Ornn. Honestly, I thought he was going to take something else. Like I kind of expected like a Garen or something there.
Right.
Um, but I was just better. I think I was just better at both sides of the matchup. Because I have played like the Ornn quite a bit, so I kind of know how that goes.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so it wasn't really an ego thing. I just didn't really want to play against a Renekton again. You know what I mean? I didn't really want to
Yeah.
blind Ornn.
That's understandable.
Yeah. So like it was kind of like, well, I'll just take the Renekton here and see what he plays. But then like the in game 3, like we kind of expected, like we planned on playing the Varus pretty aggressive early in the lane,
Mhm.
with the J4 coming around.
Right.
But once he died, like I think he died to like 2 ganks or something like that. But like that's gonna be
It's
kind of
3.
I'm
expected. So I mean,
talking I'm talking the
yeah.
first 12 seconds when he just
Yeah, oh
walked
yeah, when
down mid.
when he walked in,
Was that
yeah.
on
I just
purpose?
think we were talking in comms, and I mean that's like a Nautilus thing, right? When the Nautilus team
Right.
just runs straight
Yeah.
up the lane, and I just don't think we thought about it right. Like he's like, "Oh, there's Nautilus." He goes, "I think they flashed on me." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know either, man, but it's all right." I think he got mid laner's flash like I don't know 2 minutes later, so it wasn't the
He
worst play
did.
ever. He didn't burn sums, like he didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it isn't the worst thing that's ever happened. The Garen getting the kill, like he came to lane with a longsword, like that's not going to change the matchup any, so it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Right. It definitely turned from because I think he ended up 0-3 or 0-4 at some point, and then just got a quadra and then just kept getting multi kills. And I will say in those last two games, y'all really like it felt like these team comps were almost built to facilitate Rutledge with the Tristana and then with the Varus. Obviously Glacial on the I will say Glacial on the Nile looked great in game 1. Game 2 seemed like he was just on distracted Dallas duty, which worked really well, but it seemed like y'all definitely, especially in game 2, really were trying to go like, all right, we're all in on Rutledge, and it pays off. So when we talked about it a little bit, last time we interviewed y'all, but like for Rutledge being able, having that kind of point of the spear role, he's very consistent, very effective, and so for those types of team comps, are y'all drafting around that? Do y'all kind of think of those drafts beforehand, or is that kind of more like on the fly, like, hey, let's do this thing, let's make it cohesive?
So the Seraphine comp, we actually haven't played Seraphine AD like almost at all. We did
Right.
it in a
Okay.
game yesterday in BOL.
Mm.
And it went like super good. Like we just kind of like randomly picked Seraphine Enchanter. So we were like, well, let's just do that again. We can just take the Seraphine because they were kind of worried about it.
Right.
Mhm.
Or it was something in draft. So we were like, well, we're just gonna take the Seraphine and then we'll just pair it with Tarek
Yeah.
or like an
Yeah.
Enchanter, right? Like just anything, Sona, Soraka, whatever. Um, and then Rutledge has played a decent amount of ADCs mid, so it's like, all right,
Mhm.
well, we get persistent damage from there, and then like I just push lanes. You know what I mean? So like we have a
Yep.
pretty good, yeah, we just have a pretty good like 4, pretty good 3, and then I can just push lanes. Yeah, so like we don't really necessarily draft like just Rutledge carry, but it just kind of like he's a consistent team fighter. We play objectives appropriately, and as long as our front line's there, like we just set up the ADCs to have success, right? Because
Yeah.
Glacial's got a bunch of 20 kill games, a bunch of 15 kill games, and
Right.
if Rutledge is playing ADC, he can do the same thing. We generally set
Yep.
up our fights pretty well.
Yeah, you guys almost always have priority when in terms of heading towards map locations and things like that, like Dragon Pit and Baron. You're almost always
Hmm.
first there. You almost always have better ward scores. So big ups to everybody on your team for that. It's one of the things I always look for because support main myself, right? So having teammates with good ward scores is kind of useful. It's always nice to see.
Yeah.
I want to call attention to the fact that everybody keeps banning set against you, but only you, right?
Yeah. Dude,
I'm gonna I'm
PTOP.GG,
gonna
man.
I'm gonna
I'm
ask
the best
you
set in the league.
I'm gonna
It is
ask
true.
you to give something away. Maybe would you pick it still if it wasn't banned, or is it only matchups, certain matchups?
I'm good to blind it into most things.
Oh
Like there's some matchups that I don't like as much. Like Aatrox is kind of an annoying pick.
yeah,
Mhm.
Mordekaiser's not the best, but it's doable. But other than that, I could pretty much play it in whatever. It's not really a big deal. Like he has enough sustain that like range matchups aren't that hard. Um, he beats most melees. Like I don't know. I just
yeah.
think he's a pretty strong champion overall. He's hard to like actually gap in lane. So like even if you're like 0-1, 0-2, like you're still gonna do the same thing. He
Mhm.
scales better than stuff like Renekton in
Yeah.
a lot of comps. Um, and he's got early pressure as well. So I actually think he's a pretty versatile champion and has a lot of stuff that goes on.
Cool.
As a set main myself, I always love to hear that. Love seeing him get picked. I hope we see more of it. But I was like looking towards
Those
the
buffs are
future.
looking good tomorrow.
I know.
Oh,
I'm so okay. We can talk about that. I'm so excited for that next patch. There are so many things that are gonna. But we'll talk about that next week because y'all will have to indeed practice it and get ready for that next patch, which should shake things up. But again, speaking of next week, Omega Gaming Obsidian Hard Hat Zone is the match that's still going on that you will face the loser of. There is a chance that next week you have to face Hard Hat Zone again already, or potentially Omega Gaming Obsidian, both of which I think are potential tournament favorites with how they looked going into a potential hard hat zone rematch. How are y'all feeling? I know it was a little bit of a tough loss last week, but thinking of
I
those
mean, we got
rematches.
dumpstered. You don't have to you don't have to be nice, man. We got
yes,
Like,
we
dumped. We
do.
got
We
dumped
I,
on,
do.
I've
man.
I've
Yeah,
been I've
actually.
been I've been talking about how rough it was almost all night because y'all
Yeah,
looked so different this
we
week.
got trounced. I
Right.
think for that game in particular, generally one thing we do at CBR is we draft and we plan our drafts like quite a bit ahead. Like we have general ideas of the China champions we want to pick depending on the players and like kind of what we want to do. Um, but when we played Hard Hat Zone, we didn't really do that. Yeah, it's kind of
Right.
one of those
Ah,
ones where
There you go.
it's not really like it's not that we looked past them or anything. We just didn't really think that they were going to do anything that was going to really surprise us or like really kind of, you know what I mean? I don't know. We just were lazy
in
that day for whatever reason.
CCS?
Um,
That's like I will say
and
that's
so
probably the
we
worst
really
team.
didn't.
Yeah. That's like the
Yeah,
worst
we
team you can do that
definitely.
with.
Yeah, we really didn't. We didn't know what they were gonna do going in, and then we didn't adjust well to it, like literally at
Right.
all. I mean, in any of our drafts, I think we won like game 3, I think,
Yep.
with like one of our like more standard comps, like the MF set. Like
Yep.
I can't remember what we had mid, but we won with it. And
Right.
it's something we played a lot of. And we just
Mhm.
didn't adjust. I mean, like, yeah, they played really hard mid jungle.
Always.
We like mixed match scaling with jungle and mid quite a bit, where we had like double scaling or like one early, one late, and like
Hmm.
we just got dumpstered. I mean, there was one part in that series. I think I was like 1-2 Renect or 1-2 Aatrox, and I walk into the Dragon Pit and I get QW'd from like a 14 kill Oriana for like 75% of my health. I'm like, yeah, this game's over.
That was
Let's just
I
start
remember
fighting, I guess.
that was game two. That was alternative blowing people up with the shockwave. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that very much. I got QW'd and then ulted, just instantly died. I was like, all right, well, there's nothing I can do now. So
Gets 3 hit, and his response is, "Well, I didn't like that very much."
yeah, that was definitely not fun. But yeah, I think if we play them again, I think we have a better grasp on how they want to play, how we want to play into them. I'm not saying it's gonna like swap the matchup and we're just gonna 3-0 them or anything like that. But I think we have a better.
Right.
I think we'll be able to play them better than we did. Who's on Obsidian?
I'm gonna
Do
be
you,
honest. I'm terrible with names. Here, let me go look up the roster. I literally don't remember. Again, no shade. No
OG
shade.
Obsidian, we are looking
OG
at
Obsidian.
UBC Solder,
There we
Delilah,
go.
Demo, King
oh, it's
Civil,
that.
and the
Oh,
Pool
so
Crab.
it's a chillers team. Oh, okay, yeah, they'd be fun to
Yeah.
play. We actually scrim them. Like I think in between Cade, like when we still had Cade on the roster, we scrimmed them.
Okay. Yep.
and we lost like all 5 games. I mean, we played him in Aegis, lost 2-0, and then we scrimmed him and lost like 3 games. Like we just got murdered.
Right.
Um, but we've gotten a lot better, like pretty much every role, and
Mhm.
how we play is a little bit more clean. So I think that'd be a good series as well. And like I kind of know I mean, we know how we've watched dozens of games from
Yeah.
that team and those players. So we have a pretty grasp on that one too. So I think our next round will be competitive regardless of who we play.
Well, you're definitely gonna want to make sure that you read up on everybody because I mean it's CCS, man. People are nutty, right? People play whatever they feel like. You're a set main in
Yeah.
okay, like you alone are an oddity. So keep that in mind. We're gonna wrap up. I'm guessing at this point I mean it's late for most people. It's after 11 o'clock for me personally. Any
It is.
last words? Any shout outs? Any coaches you want to thank? Girlfriends, boyfriends, or just your team?
Just my team. Shout out Glacial for doing wild stuff on Nyla. Like every time he
Yeah.
picks it,
It's
Yeah.
indeed.
it's crazy, man. Like the first time he played it, he was just like, "I think we locked Nyla Tarek here," and I was like, "I've never seen you play Nyla, but I guess you know what? Fine, go for it." Like, dude just goes like 16-2. Like, all right, I guess you're a good Nyla player.
I guess
Yeah.
we locked Nyla there.
Yeah, I guess
There we
we're
go.
just a Nyla team now. I guess.
Indeed.
So yeah,
Well,
shout out to Glacial, shout out to Rutledge, shout out to Hunter for holding it down. Oh, and
indeed.
Kyle, love me.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
everybody
Can't
but
forget him.
Kyle. Yep.
Yep.
Everybody but
Everybody
Kyle,
but
dude. I hate
Kyle.
that. I hate that
Yeah.
guy, man.
Definitely dunk on your support. That's the correct thing to do.
Hey,
But thank thank you so much, Pip, for coming out. Again, you gave us a quick 3-0. We're in bed before midnight on a best of 5. Again, Oshi, we gotta start getting used to that. But to chat, thank you for coming out and watching, and thank you to Ludi, our wonderful producer, who was battling just a ton of tech issues tonight, but we were able to fight through it and bring you this series. Again, we got CCS2 still going on. We're gonna have more CCS tomorrow and next week. Again, 8 p.m. Be here. All right. It's fun. It's awesome. You get channel points, and you can also, of course, check out our wonderful sponsors. Click the links below or in the chat. But until next time, folks, for more exciting CCS content, see you next time. Be safe, be smart, make wise decisions, and farewell.